Yeah, he just sent a text. Won't be here till 5:30, 5:36.
So we'll go ahead and get started. Do we have any attendees, Grace, that you can fill us in on, other than those who are already in the room?
For attendees, we have Counselor Jason Grow. We have Pam Toby and someone registered as resident.
All residents, welcome. So my name is Scott Memhard, and I'm the Ward 1 City Councilor, and my pleasure to chair and chair Budget and Finance Subcommittee of the City Council of Gloucester. And today is June 22nd, and we're conducting a hybrid Budget and Finance meeting. We're at the Harbor Master's office on Harbor Loop, and we're also available online, and I can welcome online. I see Sal DeStefano, and I see Maria. Funny, the last name is very similar. And with us here is Grace Collier and John Dunn, Kenny Costa, Auditor, David Fields, Community Development Master, and Mayor Greg Verga. Thank you very much for joining us, Greg. It's happy to be here. Hot night out there on Commercial Street. Report.
Well, gotta do what we gotta do.
And with me as well is Councillor Tony Gross at large, and we're expecting momentarily to have Councillor Jeff Wardley joining us, also at large. Okay, well, the first routine item we have tonight is a memorandum from the DPW Director requesting acceptance of. I don't have a copy of the preamble. Grace, do you have it there? No.
Is it up top?
This is a remote, a hybrid meeting, so if anybody is remote, they can participate virtually by logging on to the web address as noted in the Zoom settings on our city website. And there's also a phone number to call in to, and there's a *9 to indicate you're interested in speaking. We're welcome to attend in person or virtually, and of course, all these meetings are recorded and archived and available typically even the next day in their entirety on the city's website under past Zoom meetings. So again, following the agenda is posted tonight for Budget and Finance. The first is a memorandum from the DPW Director requesting our acceptance of funds for the Langsford Street Cemetery in an amount of $500, and this is something that we've received over the years on a consistent basis, and it's courtesy of Carroll Steel Insurance. It's a $500 donation, and I would move to recommend the City Council accept this donation. It's a cash donation under Mass General Law 4453A to support the Department of Public Works and the Cemetery Commission for maintenance and preservation of the Langsford Street Cemetery in the amount of $500. And this is from the following business partner within our community, that is the Carroll K Steel Insurance Agency. And the amount is $500, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions? Again, this is a routine item that Carroll Steel has sponsored over the years. We're very appreciative. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, two in favor, one absent. Item number 2 is a memorandum from the Fire Chief, Eric Smith, and the 2023 SBT 23 in the amount of $691.56 regarding the reimbursement to the police department for background investigations. I urged Chief Smith that this was a routine matter. We did not need his presence here tonight to provide background, because this is again a routine matter where the fire department utilizes the services of our police department to conduct background checks on new employees. And I would move to recommend the City Council approve special budgetary transfer SBT 23 in the amount of $691.56 from the fire purchase of services account number as noted to the police uniform overtime account number as noted. And this is for the purpose of reimbursement of background investigations for the fire department. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. 2 in favor, 1 currently absent. You want to go ahead, Kenny and Sal, with the tax income financing, or are we going to wait for? Or is this our guest right here?
Yes, Tom O'Grady.
Hi, Tom.
Hello,
So,
I don't know you, so it's nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Scott Memhard?
Hi, Scott.
Started giving away.
The cut, the cut. Well, I'm not used to the cut yet.
If I get out of here early enough, I'm scheduled to run the 5K. So
Well,
well, I'm gonna,
you'll see some of these shirts around town.
power to you. I'll turn it over to Greg.
I'm gonna kick things off and then I'll hand it over to.
Thank you very
Tom.
much.
So we're here tonight to request that you support the local only TIF application for Granite Cove Venue LLC, which is doing business as the T-shirt says, The Cut.
The cut.
Which will be a bar, restaurant, a venue for music, comedy, film, private functions. And there's already a recording studio, which I've utilized, and rehearsal space, which I've also utilized. And the beauty of this new venture is those will stay in place. You, last week or at your last meeting, you had a presentation from the state's Office of Business Development about
No,
what a
Sal
TIF is.
did a great presentation.
Yes,
about
and
this.
so you understand that a TIF is a valuable tool to help new businesses or help businesses expand. And I know you guys are aware of it, but it is not a loss of tax revenue for us. It is basically a discount on any additional growth that they would have. So Tom is investing over $10 million to refurbish the old CVS building. And as you guys both know, with the CVS closed and the Santander Bank, it just created an area of blight on Main Street. And so this is an opportunity to really boost that section of town and push people in both directions of Main Street. In order for them to seek the abandoned building tax deduction from the state Department of Revenue, this local TIF is required. Yes. I can hang on a sec while Jeff settles.
Sorry, guys, thank you.
Yeah.
Now I'm back to the main.
Please.
We'll bring the chair right around, yeah.
Already told them.
Welcome, Councilor
Sorry.
Marsh. Definitely.
Is there something going on in town this week?
No.
Traffic and parking a little challenging? or something?
Something new we try.
Thank you.
So anyway, I as mayor, and I'm sure many of you would like to see the cut succeed, and because this is what we're all about, helping businesses succeed. And the TIF is an important part of it. So what I'm proposing is a 5-year, 25% TIF for your consideration. So this will allow them to keep the current, as I've already mentioned, the recording studio and the rehearsal space. And so I want to thank you all for your consideration of this. And I also want to mention that we have on the line, we have Sal DiStefano from the Economic Development Department, and we have Maria DiStefano from the state, who can both answer any questions that you have. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom to do his presentation. And
Okay, great.
right on up.
Well, I didn't really prepare a presentation, but
We want a full song and dance.
that's coming. That's coming.
Okay, good.
No, but I live here in Gloucester. And was looking for, a building as an investment. I approached the CVS people. It had been vacant for a long time. Finally negotiated a deal, and I've been putting a team together, which include the goddesses who have been renting downstairs from the past owner. And I had this vision of a restaurant, bar, and entertainment venue. So hit it off with Sam and Tony Goddess, and they're very much part of what we're doing upstairs. They've been super helpful. And, the idea is really, it's just kind of a community hub for music and arts. We seek to have national acts come in, not just music, we can do movie screenings, theater, we'll kind of test the water and see what works. We're really excited about it, and the building needed a lot of work. So new roof, new utilities, didn't have fire suppression. So the costs have, as we got in there and started to gut it, we realized there was some significant improvements we had to make, which I want to make. We want to make it a great presence on Main Street. Old fashioned marquee is in our plans. So really just be an anchor for that part of Main Street when you're coming down Pleasant or up Main. you'll kind of see this old theater kind of look. So I think it'll be a nice, the new facade will be a nice improvement to Main Street. But we're super excited about it. And we're getting great feedback from, everyone in the city. There's a lot of good buzz going on, and we're excited to get it done and get the doors open. And we think it'll bring a lot of tourism into town, or additional tourism. And we're hoping they'll spend their money up and down Main Street. But I'm happy to answer any questions or.
Counselors, floor is yours for questions.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Tom, is that right?
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you
Tom.
for your investment in Gloucester. I think it's important to recognize that you're taking a risk, it's your own money,
Big risk.
and, people are excited and supportive of what you're doing. And I think, thanks, Mayor, for bringing this, and I don't know how the negotiations go on TIFs, if you gotta wait for the council first, or how that goes, but thank you for bringing that forward. As a musician, too, just really thrilled to see this venue. And so just overall, first, thank you and congratulations for getting this far. Do you have a guess on to when you'll be opening?
If all goes well, we could be open by the end of the year.
That's great.
We're well into construction already.
Busy beavers.
Oh, yeah. I was introduced from the Goddesses to a guy who summers up here in Long Beach, who happens to have built a few of the House of Blues as a project manager. And so he's become a partner of mine. And so we're in good hands. He's built many restaurants, many music venues.
Awesome. If I may ask some questions of Sal and Maria and the mayors, and again, I ask questions sometimes just to learn a little bit more about the TIF process, things like that. None of this is reflective of our support and encouragement for you. Is that fair?
Sure.
So I think you said a 25% over 5 years, increasing over 5 years, or did you say 20% over 5?
25% over 5 years of the growth. So the current tax rate, no change. Whatever the new assessment is over the next 5 years, we get 75% of what we get for that growth. And then at the end of 5 years, 100%.
Oh, so the last year counts as one of the years of the TIF program, and that becomes
Yeah.
100%.
I'm going to defer to Dave or Sal.
Sure, I can take that. Yeah, so the percentage doesn't change. It's 25% per year, every year for 5 years. So we're not
Of
going from
incremental.
only the incremental overage. So we're not going from 25% to a different percentage. It's 25% flat each year for 5 years straight.
So there isn't any increment.
No increase,
So
no
tax
scale.
files, there's no increment.
Yeah.
in that.
Right, 75 I meant was of the 100% of the new growth, we get 75% the next 5 years.
Correct.
And then 100% in year 6.
This might be a little bit helpful. So this is some documentation that was put together by the assessor's office.
That's no question.
Everybody has to understand that TIF is predicated off a base year. That base year hasn't happened yet. Expecting that base year in 2025, but this is how it looks right now, assuming the base year was 2023. So again, as has been mentioned, the TIF only applies to the incremental value, and 25% of that incremental value as it would be taxable.
So I think the message, and sometimes it gets confused in the public, or at least has in the past, which is, someone's paying less taxes, right? When the reality is, this property is generating more taxes, and the reduction is on that additional income for the city. So this is a net gain for the city, and for you, the break, if you want to call it that, is the idea is that it's supposed to reduce more investment, but really it's a way of helping to fund the finance and say, okay, we're going to exempt, it looks like $9,700 per year.
And just to reiterate what I said, this also helps them qualify for that abated building tax deduction.
With the state.
It's the state, yes.
That's a big piece of it too. So may I ask a few more questions?
Tony, do you have anything you want to jump in on?
Oh, I've got a answer.
Thanks. I've always been curious how this sort of comes about, because, council has to okay it, but in a perfect world, a business has some sort of confidence that this, this is gonna happen, right, before they make the big decision to buy a property, invest in it. So using you as a scapegoat, if you will, just
Yeah,
for,
no,
because the process is new to, I think it's the first tip that you've been involved with, as me.
Gloucester Crescent was while I was on the school committee, so I wasn't involved in that.
Right. So I guess this question would be for David and Sal. Is there something that we can do from the council perspective and with the mayor's office to say, if, I don't speak for the council, right? I'm just one member. But if the council says yes to this, that you feel you have another tool in whatever toolkit you have to incent business to come here, knowing that there's a favorable business climate, right? It'd be nice if there was just sort of a way to say to the businesses that we want to invite here, come to Gloucester, and even though they need to vote on it, and they still need to debate it and deliberate, you're nearly guaranteed this incentive if you meet these criteria, if you add growth, add value. So A, if we do this, can you promote that we're doing this in Gloucester, not just in Gloucester, but
Absolutely,
regionally?
absolutely. And the word, yeah, counselor, it does, what you're saying absolutely makes sense. I mean, the Commonwealth puts out a press release that, whatever tips are approved. This one is approved conditionally by the state based on the fact that the way the calendar works, city council's vote is next week. The state's vote was 2 weeks ago. And what they said is, we approve it conditionally based on the final municipal vote. And in our case, it's city council, because that's our form of government. But the word gets out there, and for site selectors of national companies, it's one of the things that they look for is what cities are pro-business, what cities will consider an economic development incentive. And it's good advertising for Gloucester. And in this case, as the mayor mentioned, this local TIF will leverage a bigger program through the state. But it's a very good point, and pending next week's vote by the full city council, we definitely want to promote this on social media and let folks know that it's happening. So good point.
All we need is, for every small business, it's awesome to do this, but if there's another variant out there that says, let me consider coming to Gloucester and bring my 1,200 jobs and very little tax burden, but great revenue to the city. All it takes is one of the right people on a board to say, let's look at Gloucester. So I think we should be celebrating your investment, but celebrating this approach because it hasn't been done in a while, and it's good to see more of these. So in general, I support it. The concept, and I support what you're doing specifically. So I don't have further questions about how the program works. I just want to make sure that we can, I don't want to say use, it's the wrong word, because I'm not thinking perfectly. Use, leverage the success of this program to help you for other businesses that are looking to grow either locally and expanding, or wanting to come here to say, hey, Gloucester is a friendly place to do business.
We'll throw town out there, we'll get some headshots, put it out there on the web.
On the stage with the
Yeah,
lights.
there you go, exactly, exactly.
Do you need any other permits from the city for operation that you know of?
We've got everything we need at this point.
There's no zoning, no city council?
Everything's within the envelope of the building. The marquee, I think, we need DPW to sign off on that because it extends into the side.
Everything else is by right.
There was a time that the city, an older city, a long time ago, would charge businesses for air rights for being over the sidewalk, even though it was 15 and 20 feet long. So thankfully, we're not doing that. Parking, again, this is not a zoning thing, but I've heard.
Absolutely nothing to do with the TIF, and everything else is by right.
Okay. You've answered my questions right now.
We've got
Yeah, I know that's
3
gonna be a
public
question,
lots
Right.
in a block, within a block of
What's
us.
that?
We have 3 public lots within a block of the building.
It's got nothing to do with this year. It's, well, a conversation another day, but the idea of using the same lot for multiple businesses and buildings is sort of, and residences is sort of.
Councilor Gross.
Okay,
Sorry.
so, question for the money people. So we're looking at the incremental assessed value is at 3.54, 3.55 million. Correct. So it has nothing to do with investment.
No,
The
because
assessed
it-
value will be
So,
assessed at.
so again, so the assessors took an estimate of finished value that's provided.
Right.
You know, what is that going to be? Don't know.
But there isn't like a direct line between his 10-4 investment to the assessed value.
No, so it's going to
I
be,
just want to make
right.
sure that that was
Yep.
clear. Well, there is because, but it, there isn't. I mean, it just. It adds.
If I could, I'm sorry, if I could jump in, Counselor, and clarify that number, that 10 million number also includes acquisition of the property. And you know, the rest being, you know, a mixture of like rehabilitation cost, equipment, soft costs. And as you know, not all of that turns into additional value. And we had this with another case of a waterfront property owner in the DPA that did work on pilings and other things to support the building. And I don't want to speak for the assessor, but I just happen to know sometimes improvements made by businesses don't exactly reflect in additional assessed value. It's not a dollar for dollar, but there is a formula and there are things that they include and things that they don't. So this was an estimate prepared by Gary Johnstone that he did, you know, an estimation based on information he was given. But I just wanted to mention that as just a point of clarification. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that people understood that there's
Sure.
a difference between, you know, what, because assessment, you're looking at a building that would have these existing things in it. But you're taking a building and you're putting those things in it, which, you know, to make them existing, which costs more than it would be assessed.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest part of the budget is improving the piece of real estate.
Right,
You know, there's
Yeah.
startup costs and working capital and things like that for business, but
exactly. And
The majority
this
is going
isn't,
into-
this isn't a flip.
no. No.
Yeah, by any manner of means. So that's where, you know, this just don't, I just want to be prepared to have that discussion because that may come up. And so let me get this straight. You're gonna have a restaurant on the
Yeah.
front end where the store was.
Yeah, the Main Street entrance is going to come into a restaurant bar.
Restaurant bar, sit down,
Yeah, there's
160, do they see?
seating restaurant, yeah.
And then the venue out back is gonna be standing room, standing only.
Well, it capacity wise, it can hold up to 500 people if it's a general admission type of show, which is standing room only. But it's going to be a multifunctional venue, so we could have movies with just all seating. We could have a combination of standing and seating, bar tops. So depending on the type of event, you know, and we'll also rent the room for weddings, corporate events, private events.
And people will go through the restaurant to get there or just. try to get a
You can
picture
go
of
up to
what-
Roger Street. We're having a discussion whether we want to make that just an exit at the end of the night versus, you know, people coming in that way. Like right now, the plan is for everyone to come in through Main Street. There's kind of a corridor, but it's open to the restaurant that comes down in one wall, right to a door that goes into the venue.
Okay, that's it. I mean, fortunately, we had that TIF workshop before the last DNF meeting and that really brought us up to speed and answered an awful lot of questions, so.
Yeah, for me, it lets us, you know, fulfill the whole vision, you know, between the city's help and the state's help, things like the marquee, you know, we could take that out of the budget, and not do it, or you know, with the help, we can do a little, you know, some of those extra features that I think are gonna add to the.
And are you envisioning having things going on almost every night?
Yeah, we got an entertainment license for 7 days a week. The restaurant, we plan to have open 7 days a week.
And the venue also, if
Yeah, the venue, you know, we might have, you know, I don't want to overcommit because, you know, we're gonna have to see what works and what doesn't. But we'll probably have, you know, national touring acts there twice a week at least. We could have a comedy show another night. We could have a private, event another night. It'd be a combination of things. We talked about, maybe screening movies. Haven't fully investigated that yet. But we want it to be a multifunctional room so that we're not, putting all our cards in,
Right.
on one bet, that flexibility. And, and we also look at, it will be unique for the entire North Shore. You've got the Cabot, but that's very, seated and limited to what you can do with that space. You've got the Shaolin, which is beautiful, but limited to what you can do. This is a room that can change. The seating can change, the use can change.
That way to be open to like theater companies coming in and running, a show for
Yeah,
a couple of weeks.
I've talked to Jeff or Sean about that a little bit, but that's a possibility.
The main thing is to get it built, just follow through on the vision and
Yep.
Yep.
see where it leads you. Leads all of us.
This is very exciting. Wish you well.
I appreciate it.
You can't really condition things like having the mayor play it at your.
That's part of the conditions.
Is it? Is it? Or you could set that or something. I'd love to.
See if we can get you on the main stage.
Yeah.
Tony will be running sound.
Any other council questions? Are there any other councilors present, raised in attendance remotely? Mr. Fallon,
You open it up, you gotta open it to everybody.
I'm going to go ahead and read the motion as presented. This is a memorandum from our chief administrative officer regarding the cut tax increment financing TIF request and EDIP letter of intent. And the committee recommendation would be for a recommendation that the city council approve a tax increment financing exemption between the city of Gloucester and Granite Cove Equities LLC, Granite Cove Venue LLC, DBA, The Cut, in accordance with the Massachusetts Economic Development Incentive Program, EDIP, and chapters 23A, 40, and 59 of the Massachusetts General Laws, to be located at 177 Main Street, Gloucester, for a period of 5 years, ending in fiscal year 2029. And the community recommendation would be as follows: to move to recommend that the city council accept the following. Number one, adopt the tax increment financing agreement between the city of Gloucester and Granite Cove Equities LLC / Granite Cove Venue LLC DBA The Cut for a property located at 177 Main Street. And two, to approve the project application and to find that it meets the requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 23, Section 3F, in that it provides a reasonable opportunity to create jobs within the city of Gloucester as indicated in the TIF agreement. 3, authorize the mayor to execute the TIF agreement and submit the TIF agreement and certified project application and all other necessary documents to the Economic Assistance Coordinating Council of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and take any other actions as necessary and appropriate to implement the provisions of those documents. And I so move.
Second.
Further questions or comments?
Just comment, so thanks, Mayor, appreciate it. David, I don't know, John and Kenny and Sal and Maria, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to get to this point, but obviously the biggest thank you is to you for taking the risk and putting money into this. As we know, as one member, and I'm sure the others feel the same ways. Thank
Big
you.
risk.
That's fantastic. It's a good thing to happen this particular year. For our 400th anniversary, it's something brand new on Main Street.
Yeah.
And Roger Street too, so.
We're very excited about it, and we really appreciate everyone's support throughout the whole community.
I think
The mayor's
they didn't
office.
vote yet, so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Oh, yeah.
why.
I'd also like to say on behalf of our Main Street merchants and vendors and restaurants, that this alleviates the blighted empty storefront of the old CVS, and even more significantly creates a lively hub of traffic and activity, and both for visitors and our local community. And that for everybody is a win-win. So this is a step in the right direction.
Great.
Counselor, Maria has her hand raised.
Yes, thank you, Maria.
Just muted.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say, I know you haven't voted yet, but I just want to say that I want to applaud, obviously, the proponent for his investment that he's making in the city, but I really have to take a moment to, because I've heard really great questions tonight, and I appreciate those questions because these are public meetings and they're also recorded, right? So if somebody later on wants to hear it or is in the audience right now, I think these are important questions. And I just want to say that Gloucester does an excellent job of using the EDIP program as an economic development tool. Obviously, you know, Sal is my husband is the economic development director, but this is not about him, right? Because he can work as hard as he wants, and David also can work. The two of them can work as hard as they want on these projects. In the end, it's going to be the mayor that brings it forward, and it's going to be your committee that votes, and then the larger committee as a whole, right? The larger, board as a whole. And the fact that you have such a really good, strong grasp of the program, this is not an easy program. You know, this is why I'm employed, right? It's to make sure that, it's why I have a job, to make sure that folks are understanding it. And I just think that's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time, but I'm really excited. It's really easy to work with Gloucester when it comes to the EDIP program. And I just needed to call that out. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maria.
It's not every day people thank us, so.
And it's a fact that the city has been able to take advantage of this program over the years. The recent one that comes to mind is the Cometeer project that took a empty freezer fish warehouse and now is a world-renowned coffee manufacturer that's exporting. There's a very aggressive marketing campaign program. It's established itself, and it's based in Gloucester. I'll take pride in that. Plus, it's good coffee, good entertainment. Any other councilor questions or discussion? Seeing none, motions been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes on a vote of 3 in favor, nothing, 0 opposed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I make it.
Fiesta 5K if you're quick.
That's right.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, counselors.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, Maria.
Take care.
Thank you.
See you guys.
We'll be right on your heels.
Take care. Thanks,
Good
John.
luck.
Next up.
Yeah, right. Need some expert.
Item 4 on the agenda is a memorandum from our CAO requesting acceptance of a donation from the Associated Charities of Gloucester in the amount of $200. I move to recommend the City Council accept a cash donation under Mass General Law 4453A to support the Gloucester Health Department prevention team for a youth pizza and game night at Riverdale Park or Willowwood Gardens Community Centers in the amount of $200. And this is from our following partner within the community. And this is the Associated Charities of Gloucester. And I so move.
Second,
Discussion.
I've never heard of the Associated Charities of Gloucester. Is it a
They've
separate,
been around a while.
I'm sorry, I don't know. It's a separate organization from a variety of charities, or is it?
Anybody have any comment about the nature of the Associated Charities?
I saw my sister-in-law was on it.
Ask her.
I will.
That sure would hold up my vote to
Yeah,
accept
no,
it.
that's-
I'm interested in not know.
Rosemary in the sporting documentation.
Yeah, no, I'd like to thank them very much. So the motion is
Yes.
made and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And continuing to receive money, the next 3 votes here at least. Memorandum from the former Veteran Services Director, now in Florida, requesting acceptance of donations in the amount of $100 from Ed Camo I would move to recommend the city council accept a cash donation under Mass General Law 4453A to support veteran services in the amount of $100 from Ed Camo, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All, motion passes unanimously. And again, memorandum from our former Veterans Services Director requesting acceptance of donations in the amount aggregate of $1,350. Move to recommend. Okay.
Sorry.
Accept donations, various cash donations under Mass General Law 4453A to support veteran services in the amount of $1,300 from the following members within our community, and this includes Lorinda Manthorn, Anthony Bertolino, Paula and Arthur Collins, John Diamantidis, Trinity Congregational Church, Ed Camo, Josephine and Sal Testaverde, for a total of $1,350, and I so move. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And still more, memorandum from the former Veteran Services Director requesting our acceptance of donations in the amount of $2,536. I would move, we recommend the city council accept such cash donations under Mass General Law 4453A, supporting veteran services in the amount of $2,536 from the following members of our community: Irene and Ralph Pierce, Jasper and Arlene LaFata, Edward Mann, Karen and Robert Dow, Stephen and Jacqueline Ellis, Frank and Carol Rose, Bank Gloucester, Janet Thompson, Janice Colomore, Angela and David Rich, Diane Bertolino, Wayne Sargent and Teresa Marchant, Robert Kohler, Hugh and Nancy Curley, Mary Louise Giuliano, Anthony Bertolino again, Christine and David Curley, Diane and Scott Horn, Anthony Bertolino again, Barry and Diane McKay, Robert and Lucille Diamond, Merritt and Jennifer McIntyre, Edward Camo, and Shaw's, again for a total contribution to veteran services in the amount of $2,536, and I so move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Other than general thank you to all of these generous supporters of the city's programs. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So that leads us on to the annual comprehensive financial report, or our CAFRA.
Yes. I actually put a slide deck together. Okay, if I. It'll be short. Yeah, so we have the annual comprehensive financial report fiscal year 22, and also the certificate of achievement in financial reporting for fiscal year 2021. And the certificate's on the left for fiscal year 21, that's included in the fiscal year 22 report. And to the right is the plaque. So we've now achieved this award 5 years in a row. So that you see there in the left from fiscal year 17 through 2021. And just a little bit about the program. So this is a national program. This is the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association. They were founded in 1906, and their mission is to advance excellence in state and local government financial management. They're also in the US and Canada.
Andy and Orient.
Son looking for a dog sitter.
So this program has been in existence since 1945. And this is the 5th year that we've received, as I mentioned, this is the 5th year that we received the certificate. We've submitted the fiscal year 22 report. And we're about one in about 50 municipalities that participate in the program. Boston, Cambridge, Worcester, Malden, Somerville, Chelsea, to name a few, Danvers, Beverly, Manchester by the Sea, Marblehead, Salem, Revere, or local communities that participate in the program. And it's our goal to make this an annual endeavor.
Kenny, when you say participate, are those ones that get the award, or they just participate in the program?
They
Those
participate,
communities.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they got the award or.
so the only community that I know that didn't get the award was Malden. It was because they had a transition in their finance team, and they just couldn't get it in time a year ago. Because I talked to the Malden finance director at Amherst back in March, back in the spring. So he was trying to get it, he just ran out of time. But he was new and he was just trying to get it done and he wasn't able to. But yeah, typically, Roselli and Clark, Tony Roselli, he does a great job. So, I feel confident between his work and, us reviewing on our end that, we'll submit and we'll be able to attain, the certificate. So I feel confident.
My guess is that a city or town that doesn't have their act together is not submitting an application for this award, right?
Well, we didn't, we just started the program in 17. Prior to that, I don't believe we've ever participated in the program ever in the city's history. So if you don't participate in the program, then you issue a basic financial statement report, which in itself is difficult as well. And now we're just taking this to the next level, which is the highest level of financial reporting.
There's a lot more information, a lot more background information, a lot more about the community itself that comes out in a report like this than just the basic financial statements.
Congratulations. I think we should be sending out press releases so that whenever people are complaining about whatever they want to complain about, we could say, we've done this and done it right.
It's online.
Yeah, actually Pam did do that. Pam did contact me and talk to me about that.
Yeah, the best press release, the most consequential for us is the one that John sends to Wall Street.
True. We just issued $16 million of short-term debt yesterday and got good reception for that.
And then part of this contributes to that
Yes.
positive response, yeah.
So this entire report goes out in our offering statement. And it's important to have it there. It does enhance the fact that we know what we're doing. We're very concerned about it. We want to let people know what is happening within Gloucester and full disclosure of financial and demographic information.
Good job.
Thank you. So on the next slide, I just also want to remind you where we've come from. So back in fiscal year 2002 to 2009, the city reported negative free cash or no free cash for 8 consecutive years. And for fiscal years 2005, 6, and 7, the city did not close its books, and which resulted into finance and accounting issues with the Department of Revenue and its outside auditors. So no free cash was reported in those 3 fiscal years. And that resulted the city to be on the DOR watch list, which you don't want to be on that list. Yeah, that means you have issues. And then the city reported negative free cash in fiscal years 2008, negative 3.8 million. And then in fiscal year 2009, negative 2.3. And then the news just gets worse. So in fiscal 2009, the financial statement audit, there was 15 findings, and there were significant deficiencies considered to be material weaknesses in that report. So obviously back in those days, I mean, we were issuing basic financial statements, and there were negative balances, and that's not good when you're going out to borrow debt, especially $16 million dollars. And then also the general fund unassigned fund balance was $907,329, which represents only 1.1% of the fiscal year 2009 general fund operating expenses of $86 million at that time. And that's from the 2009 report. The next slide just shows you free cash from 1982 to 2010. So as you can see in fiscal year 82 to about 94. You had maybe one good year. There's a lot of negative free cash certifications. The city did have a good run from 1995 to about 2001. Looks like the highest was about 3.3 million. And then after that, from 2003 to 2009, it was, as I mentioned, the 8 fiscal years that either no free cash or negative free cash.
You're going way back there.
Yep. Well, actually, this is one of the first things that I did. I wanted to understand the city. I wanted to understand, what I was getting myself into and then where we were. I'm sure John at the same time, when you came in 14, because it was already a little bit better at that time. So the big financial turnaround, so between fiscal years 2010, 22, now the city has reported positive free cash 13 consecutive years. And, we plan to report positive free cash, going forward. And then also we've successfully closed our books and free cash has been certified annually by the Department of Revenue. And we've been removed from the DOR's watch list, probably around sometime fiscal year 12. And in the fiscal year 22 report, there were no findings for significant deficiencies considered to be material weakness. So we resolved those issues back in 2009, all the 15 material weaknesses. And actually, in like 2 years, we were able to resolve everything. Because a lot of the things that I saw that was reported, we started knocking them off, the list. Some of them were easy, some of them were complex. The city reported general fund, unassigned fund balance reserves in the fiscal year 22 report, 21.9 million, which represents 18.02%. In the fiscal year 22 operating expenses of 121 million. So we went from 1.1 back in 2009, and now we're at 18%. So as you can see, that's good budgeting, being fiscally responsible. So, the city's had a major turnaround since 2009. Dramatic.
Can I ask you a question? Obviously, we could talk about this offline. I don't want to take up your time and Grace's time. Those years cover, I think, 3 different mayors, 3 very different mayors, right? And obviously, some of this has got to do with the overall economy, right? Capital gains and state contributions, and some has to do with how we're budgeting locally and contracts and things like that. But what would you say would be the top couple reasons why these numbers are so drastically different? Given the fact that it's not like you could say, for example, if there was a new mayor that came in 2006 or 8 and then things turn around, you could say that's because that person instituted these changes. But we've had multiple administrations. So I just, out of curiosity, do you have a way of saying, and here's why?
Yeah, there's not one thing. John can add to this too, but I think it's a laundry list of items. I remember when I came on board, there wasn't a lot of budgets. So, I saw in some accounts, we were deficit spending, like we were going over the amount and, I think Munis is a big help, as far as, budgeting and keeping,
So the software.
the software was a big help. I can tell you the sale of Fuller, that was also a big help as well. That was about 4 million. That was part of it, because this also includes the stabilization fund as well. But I remember in 2010, when I came on board 2010, and at the time, the CFO, I know we were concerned about just making payroll. I know he was concerned, he was, worried that he didn't have enough money to make payroll back in those days. And the numbers supported, we only had, $900,000 of reserves at the end of fiscal year 2009 and only 1.1% of the budget. So there wasn't, a lot. And I remember also too, usually in the new fiscal year, there was a lot of July payments, especially with pension and then debt service. So I know there was also a thought too to kind of move those payments around so they're not, loaded at the beginning of the fiscal year. And I think also
1% would have only been 1 payroll cycle.
what's that?
1%
Yep.
in a 2 payroll cycle means only 1 payroll cycle away from not being able to pay bills.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember at the time too, we had CSO going on as well. I remember at the time there was a loan authorization, well over 25 million. So there was a lot. So I know borrowing too needed to happen, right away. It had to be timely.
Right away.
Yeah, it had to be timely, to do that. So, but yeah, no, I do remember in 2010, just concerns, making payroll and then those debt service payments in July and also the pension payment, just being able to have enough money to cover all those.
Following up on Councilor Worthley's question to you, and the interesting answers that it provokes, that are very helpful insights, but professionally speaking, municipal planning wise, municipal finance, is there a healthy level to target in terms of the percentage of the budget to have as a free cash certification at the end of the year? Constituents will argue if we have a $5 million surplus at the end of the year that we underspent or we overcharged or that somehow that we haven't been responsible in a certain sense, that the overage reflects that those could have been taxes that weren't incurred on people. But professionally speaking, is there a certain approximate target for what these free cash certification targets at the end of a year percentage they should run in?
I mean, each talk to DOR, I mean, they'll say anywhere between like 3 to 5%, and then GFOA, I've seen documentation out there saying that you do want to have 2 or 3 months, worth of,
Yes.
Reserves just in case. I mean,
Rainy day.
like a rainy day. Because one of those things, if there is an emergency, we do have those monies set aside. As opposed to trying to tax each time there's an event, that there's an issue. Like, for example, in 2015, when we had all that snow, I know in the financials, I was concerned because I know in the financials, you couldn't amortize the 3-year, but GOR did allow us to do that. We were able to amortize that loss. I think it was 3.5 million, if I remember, we had in snow and ice expenses. And I remember we did have a FEMA reimbursement of about $300,000, but didn't cover the entire thing. So I remember, working with the mayors and working with Jim Destino at the time and John and saying, okay, well, we need to do this over a 3-year, period. So, but unfortunately, the financial statements, it hits the financial statements all at once. There is no amortization in GAAP, in generally accepted accounting principles. There isn't. John, you want to add?
Yeah, again, over time, what we've been doing is being very conservative on revenue budgeting, and then riding pretty tight herd on expenditures. And it served us well, in terms of the, talking about free cash. I don't really look at free cash because we transfer a lot of it to stabilization funds. If we didn't have any stabilization funds, then free cash should be certified at $20 million. But we put it in stabilization fund, so it's only the operating, the positive operations from each year that turn into free cash. So again, it's been, pretty decent management. It's the ability to have all of the department heads be able to have access to their budgets, to be able to see what's going on. As Kenny mentioned, having units, having the access for everybody to be able to get in to see where am I in my budget. It is really important. The other thing for Gloucester, but basically everybody in Massachusetts, is 80% of our revenues come from property taxes, and they don't go down. So, it's not like we're dependent upon income taxes or sales taxes. We're not. So we are able here in Massachusetts to carry lesser amounts of retained earnings, if you will, of fund
Because there's
balance.
less risk.
Because there's much less risk here. Yep.
Very interesting stuff. And I think that software being a difference maker is important.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, the discipline and being able to say no.
Having it diversified, having it spread throughout the city, and having, each department head in charge of their own department.
A lot of management accountability.
Right, so it's not
Within the municipal
concentrated at the top, where nobody could, the people who are actually spending the money, they can't see it.
It also helps too that the school is also on the same system too.
Yes,
Because I remember, I know there's some communities that are not, they have two different systems. I remember in Somerville, that was the case. It was two different,
Case here for a very long time.
two different systems, yeah.
I forget what the other one was. 'Cause
So that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I know which system you're talking about. I had to look, I forget, I mean, I used to audit it, so I can't remember the name of the system,
Obviously,
but I
it's
know.
forgettable.
Data National. It was Data National on the city side, and then they had Budget Sense or Fund Sense on the school side.
Yeah, I forget what it was. It was not very helpful.
Yeah, so the next slide, it shows the 13 years, so it showed from fiscal year 11 to now to current to fiscal year 22. As you can see, so 1.9 and 11 to the last certification of 4.3.
When we look at, if we compare that to the overdrawn account, right? I think we should call it. We're not on that now, but we see that we're, as of the date of this printing, we have a $678,000 gap. And then somehow in September, October, we get certified with free cash. Can you help me understand that? If we're, wouldn't you, I was just thinking you would see a different number at different points in the year, and especially at the end of the year, you see a number that's over. How does that, what creates that difference?
What you don't see is the accounts that are positive. So
Okay.
for.
This isn't a net number.
So for example, I can
Yeah.
point
These are the
to,
red flags.
Right.
I can point to
Not the
more
black
than
flags.
12 accounts quickly in the current year budget that have positive variances of 60,000 plus.
And you're eyeing those carefully, I suspect.
Well,
I haven't really.
we'll talk about that in about 2 minutes.
And it's probably better that we don't see those, because then you're gonna have the city councilors
Oh, yeah,
saying,
yeah.
why don't we spend that money or spend that?
Yeah, actually. It's alive, that's why
Right.
it changes minute by minute.
Yeah. Yeah, like, for example, we have payroll next week. It's gonna change dramatically.
Right.
Next week. Yeah, like, On this next slide, so this is the 22 report. It also could be found on our website on the auditor page. So I give you a good from fiscal year 12 to 22. So it's amazing because I do have some people that do actually, they do go to this page and they do, whether it's grantors or it's even residents that actually download the file. So there definitely is value to having that, there for everybody to see. And then it's a 138-page report, so we won't be going through every page tonight, but I just want to highlight some of the, pages in the report. There's a lot of pictures in the report, as you can see. There's a picture there of City Hall from the harbor. There's also the mayor, then also the city council as well. There's an org chart, and then there's the letter of transmittal, which also includes the mayor's message. And then there's also a stat section as well in the back of the report. So there's a lot of information. So this, pales in comparison to the basic financial statement that we prepared years ago. And then here's a couple more pages from the report. You see more pictures, and then also talks about economic activity in the city with the new hotel. And this is the last, I just want to thank everybody because it's a team effort to put this report together, from the city council, BNF committee, city clerk's office, and then also the mayor's office, the mayor, Jill, and then even Pam Toby as well. She does also help with the mayor's message for the report. And then also the finance team, John, Gary, Nancy, and Stacy, and then all the departments, because in the stat section, there are some sections that I do need data from their department. They call them operating indicators for the report. And then also Tony Roselli as well. He plays a major role in developing the report as well.
Excellent. Yep.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
And there's a lot more to it than what you just shared with us, but thank you. It's impressive.
That's a very positive thing. Now we have to transition to the overdrawn accounts. So that was big picture. This is snapshot.
Yep. As Councilworthy mentioned earlier, so there is total deficit of 678,000. And as John mentioned, there's a lot of accounts as well that there are positive. So at your next meeting, we're planning to bring those transfers to you, to cure, year end. So I think that's July 6th.
July 6th.
So the ones that are overage will offset this, and then we'll be hopefully some free cash at some point.
Yeah.
After that, we'll.
Yeah.
Again.
But just, free cash, it's not just the general fund. It's also, it looks a holistic approach. It looks at all the other, so there's other funds, there's the grant funds with a city or school. So it looks at all the accounts, capital projects, all the capital projects that we have going on. So we need either the account to be in good standing, or we need to have a borrowing to cover those deficits. So it's not just the general fund operation. It looks at all the accounts. So if, for example, we have a grant, for example, I was meeting with Gary yesterday about, the school and the school grants, and just talking about doing drawdowns, because if we don't draw down, so we have a deficit at the end of the fiscal year, we need to have a drawdown or a request to the grantor. So if that revenue doesn't come in by the end of September, DOR looks at, okay, well, we need to cover this deficit. So we're going to reduce your free cash by, let's say it's 100,000 or it's 200,000, whatever the grant is. And DOR doesn't look at it and say, oh yeah, we know that, the money's in the, or the check's in the mail, like it's coming. They don't look at it that way. They'll just say, okay, it's in a deficit. They may ask why, but they're still going to reduce our free cash. So that's why it's important. That's why we have a year-end memo to help departments to know the steps and to go through the process, because it's just really to help with year-end and to help with free cash, and with our fund balance
So
as well.
of these outstanding, are there any particular ones that are of concern to you today that are going to be a challenge, a thorny challenge in the next couple of weeks, or you think
Of these?
we're in good hands?
No.
It doesn't seem as bad as it's been in
No,
some
the
years.
biggest, there's a 300,000 of snow and ice.
Yeah.
But, that's relatively modest in terms of snow and ice deficits.
Yeah.
So, again, as I
It was a
mentioned.
sleet storm forecast.
Yeah, exactly. So if we get hail, it could be a problem. But no, we should have, the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is just having enough time to get the information together for the meeting on July 6th. I'm in fact going to be on vacation for a week. And so I'm going to be scrambling a little bit for that. But,
This will be
right now I'm seeing that it's not, there will be no issue. We can cover all the deficits with more than enough.
In our office, we'll work with John to make sure that, everything is covered, or if we need to make any, late change. But as I mentioned, there's, we still have this additional payroll that, so it's a balancing at the end of the fiscal year, this is normal.
So my schedule is flexible in July, sorry, we need an additional meeting. I don't know what else we can do, but advertising and all that, but.
Yeah, the only thing we've done in the past that I know out of the norm is sometimes we'll have a meeting right before, if there's a surprise, we'll have a meeting right before the city council meeting. Just a quick meeting.
If we have to do.
Yeah. The goal is not
It
to.
is not.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other councilor questions?
So payroll weekend, 30th,
You got it. Yeah.
also lines up beautifully this year.
Well,
It's a week
actually,
behind.
actually payroll is on the 30th, but half of the payroll on the first payroll period in July is June.
So the payroll next week, it's actually through tomorrow.
So I learned something today, which is that this report that we're getting overdrawn isn't the whole picture, right? All this time I'm thinking, how are we gonna get to zero right? You gotta move these other things, but there's this other report we don't see, which is fine, but of the accounts that are doing well.
Hundreds of pages of spreadsheet.
No, I don't wanna see it actually, but
Yeah.
I just,
You
it's
get-
news
yeah.
to me, so.
Just the way municipal finance is, you tend to get slapped for deficits, but nobody applauds you for the
Yeah.
positive side.
I just wanna beg your forgiveness for not knowing that there's this other part that says, here's all the codes that are doing well. I wish
Yeah, this is,
forgive me for not knowing.
yeah, the departments, they know, they term this report as the naughty list.
Right.
Yeah,
But there is a nice list, that's the thing.
there is a nice list,
There
yeah,
is a nice list.
yes.
If there are no other questions, councilors, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn passes unanimously. Thank you, Grace.
Thank
you.
Thank you all.
I got a text her, let me feed the dog.